The English Lake District is a special place, and most visitors fall under its spell. It has a majesty that everyone wishes to photograph. Very few places in the UK can equal its dramatic beauty, a mountainous splendour that can only be matched by Snowdonia and the Scottish Highlands. It is compact, yet within this small corner of northwest England is the highest mountain and the deepest lake. Being near the sea, the mountains have their own unique weather system, generating a high annual rainfall that feeds 16 major lakes and innumerable towns. It is this that creates an utterly unique and memorable landscape, a beauty that owes itself to rain, which for the photographer can be a problem. It can also create drama and a quality of light that is rarely experienced elsewhere. Knowing when and where to go for pictures becomes the real expertise of landscape photography in the Lake District, a skill that is more important than photo technique. Windermere is usually the entry point for most tourists, especially on a first visit. Most take a sail on the lake, which can be combined with a ride on a heritage railway that starts at the southern tip of Windermere at Lakeside. To capture the fells, the local Norse name for a mountain, along with its lakes and towns, the photographer needs to don some stout boots and protective clothing and head further afield. But you will need a good head for heights. There are wild places that can easily be reached by car, and Bleetarn, between Great and Little Langdale, is a good illustration. A short stroll from the car park brings the photographer to one of Lakeland's renowned viewpoints, but a perfect mirror reflection will require a bit of weather forecasting and perhaps luck. Foreground interest to aid composition is especially important where a large expanse of water is included. Whilst the mirror reflection helps to avoid monotony, the presence of boulders adds that bit extra by shape and arrangement. White Moss Common was a favourite of William Wordsworth, and we can follow in his footsteps. Most visitors take a stroll by the river, and why not? Because it can be combined with an easy walk around Rydal Water or Grasmere. But for something a bit more stimulating, head across the common, for which boots are essential. Take the old road towards Grasmere, and at the top of the rise, turn right to follow a faint path towards a prominent crag that overlooks both lakes. It is not far, and there are two views for the price of one. I have been many times, but on this occasion there was more than a touch of magic. Across the valley is Lakeland Fell, ideal for a taste of fell walking that is not too demanding, its top being no more than 1,101 feet high in old money. The celebrated guidebook writer Alfred Wainwright expressed the opinion that to appreciate the higher fells at their best, you should view them from mid-height, so Lakeland Fell fits the brief perfectly. Around its perimeter are three lakes: Grasmere, Rydal Water and Windermere, and it even nurtures its own town, a delightful spot to relax. I have walked the fells for more than 50 years and have visited most summits. I am reasonably fit, but after having an MOT caused by lugging too much heavy camera gear around, I tested myself with a walk from Grasmere to Sergeant Man, a fell 2,414 feet above sea level. The descent was down to Dungeon Gill in Great Langdale, but I allowed less than 5 minutes before catching the last bus back to Ambleside. Choose your day carefully and listen to the weather forecast, because apart from safety, having made such an effort, you want to appreciate the wide-ranging vistas. You don't always need a blue sky to photograph the Lake District, which are more common than people imagine. But when the temperature drops close to freezing, with not a breath of wind, mist forms, especially over water. Ullswater provided this opportunity at Glencoyne Park, which reputedly is where those famous daffodils were spotted, immortalized in a poem by Wordsworth. Even when the daffodils are not in bloom, Ullswater's misty shore is still the perfect place to wander lonely as a cloud. Again, where water is featured, be it a river, the sea, as well as a lake, foreground interest is imperative to break up large empty spaces. Early morning is the best time for mist, and overlooking Derwentwater, across the lake from Keswick, is H.F. Holliday's hotel at Derwent Bank, where I often stay. The lawn sweeps down to the lakeshore, and facing east, it is perfect for early morning shots, and incidentally, only a couple of minutes from my bedroom. For shots that include the sun, I use a small aperture to avoid flare, and although I have used a zoom lens, a prime would have served me better. To protect eyes, you may prefer to use the camera's screen instead of the viewfinder, but in either case, spot meter close to, but not on, the sun, underexposing slightly, so that it does not burn out too much, otherwise it will spread, spoiling the image. You will see this problem before the shot is taken with an electronic finder, and make corrections visually. By saving to RAW, I retain considerable flexibility at post-production by lightening dark areas. I don't use filters because 6 months later, if I don't like the result, it is difficult to backtrack. But with adjustments in Lightroom, you can. Once more, notice the inclusion of foreground interest to break up water. Nearby rises Catbells, a fell between the Newlands Valley and Rydal, both captivating landscapes. You don't have to climb Catbells for the best views. Facing Derwentwater is Catbells Terrace, a pleasant and enticing broad track contouring the fell with uninterrupted views. There is also a good path on the other side of the fell facing Newlands Valley. The central belt of the Lake District between Windermere and Keswick is popular with visitors. Less frequented are its margins, from Haweswater to the east to Ennerdale in the west. Wastwater's classic view has become the logo for the national park, and it's worth the long drive from Ambleside or Keswick, especially when combined with the Hardknot and Rhinos passes, making it one of the most dramatic tours in Lakeland. En route is Eskdale, where Lakeland's other steam railway terminates at Boot, but this one is narrow gauge, originally used for mining, but now a tourist attraction taking visitors down the valley to Ravenglass. Linger a while, for this is the only segment of the Lake District National Park that meets the sea. Here, 3 rivers combine before entering the Irish Sea, and it is worth staying a night or 2 just to revel in the glory of a setting sun over the estuary.